Alright, what up everybody? Captain Pretzel here. Decided to do another one of these. I didn't really get to cover everything I wanted to last time, and people seem to really like the last video I did like this. And, this kind of video is fairly easy to produce in my downtime, because I just get to play unranked Netplay, and I don't really have to do anything extra special other than talking about what's going on through my head, which, while it's a little difficult, as you guys probably saw last time, is pretty enjoyable for me because I like explaining what my general game plan is, and it seems like a lot of people found it genuinely helpful. So this time, last time, I focused a lot on reading the other player's habits and punishing characters for punishing characters in specific matchups, but I did not talk a lot about why I chose certain options over others, and I also didn't really talk about my own defense very much. So I talked about my opponent's bad habits, but I didn't really talk about, how I tried to avoid exposing my own bad habits to the opponent, whether that be outside the game just practicing and trying to make sure I'm mixing things up enough, or whether I notice my own bad habits as I'm playing and try to correct them. So I'm going to try to point out a lot more of that kind of stuff, as well as some of Kirby's more general combo options and follow-ups. I'll try to go into a little bit more detail on what Kirby's true combos are, what kind of only works on certain DIs or certain techs, and kind of stuff that I'm just kind of getting away with due to matchup and experience that can definitely be avoided. So I want to try to talk all about all of that this time. I will also try to talk slower and to avoid using filler words, because a couple commenters pointed out that I did a lot of that. And like I said last time, I'm not the most eloquent speaker in the world, but I am going to try my hardest to, slow my pace down a bit, and there I am again. Try to avoid using filler words, and, by, replacing those filler words with silence, I should be able to actually think more clearly, so it's just a win-win all around. So let's just go ahead and hop right into Unranked. Hopefully we get some mid-level players this time around, not too many low-level ones, but also not too many high-level ones that I can't think. So we're getting a Luigi this time around, so it's an interesting semi-floaty matchup. We didn't actually run into a Luigi last time, so this should be interesting. FD is probably our worst stage against Luigi. It's our worst stage against a lot of characters. This guy is using dash attacks, which is something that no super experienced Luigi really does in general. So probably a newer Luigi here, that's fine. We're just going to throw out a bear wall here. I accidentally dash attacked off stage. So what Luigi can do there is do exactly what he just did and dip down with a dare. You kind of learn to expect that. That's Luigi's best option. Sometimes they'll also go off stage and karate chop. In both cases, you can just kind of hug the wall and tech that, and Luigi can't really do much reliably. We'll go ahead and homie stock there. Feel bad about that one. So this Luigi is throwing out a lot of aerials extremely far away from me that are no way ever gonna hit. I don't really think they're zoning aerials, just so much as inexperience. So, and I'm also not playing super good offense right now. I'm really trying to feel this person's habits out, but I'm not sure if this person has any, I'm not sure this person has enough matchup experience or Luigi experience yet to have any real habits. I do not know how I got hit by that there. I just spaced really badly, I guess. So Luigi is actually a surprisingly difficult matchup for Kirby. I still think it's pretty close to even, but Luigi has some really weird hitboxes that make it kind of hard to hit him without trading in the air. So, alright, so that's a fake up tilt I got there. Said I would try to talk more about that. So every time that you up tilt Luigi in neutral and it does, especially below about 40%, Luigi can just nair you out of it and hit you every time. This Luigi has not figured that out yet. I'm sure as soon as he figures that out, he'll start doing it a lot more. He might... You can basically punish, what was I trying to say then? You can basically punish Luigi's side B however you see fit as soon as he lands on the ground because it's got so much end lag. up smash, or up, I think when he did it the first time, I just up smashed him. That's a decent option when he's at kill percent. I don't think I charged it as much as I could have. It may have killed earlier if I... Excuse me. It may have killed if I charged it a bit more, and if I had spaced it a bit better, but as it stands, he got out of it pretty easily. So, this Luigi's just kind of wave dashing in and out. One thing I like to do on defense against inexperienced players, and this works really well, not just for Kirby, but for any characters, just kind of hold shield until they do an unsafe aerial or option. Luigi can nair you out of down throw. Something I should point out, almost every single floaty can use a nair out of your D-throw until pretty high percent. That was really funny, actually. I just got misfired into sweet spot up B and stage spike. Props for props are due. I can't tell if that was luck or intentional, but either way, that was funny. Oh, that's him. Oh, he actually lived that. Luigi has a decent sweet spot, who knew? And he should misfire, or not misfire, but side B one more time, and we can just... Oh, I tried to bury it, darn it. And the reverse barrel will close that out, probably. So this guy... semi-decent Luigi. I think, this is my first game of the day, by the way. So I'm a little not warmed up right now, but generally he's playing pretty well. Okay, so we get a Falco. So we played quite a few Falcos last time. We'll try to talk more about my defensive options, or Kirby's defensive options against Falco. So Falco's a pretty scary character in that he can hit you with pretty much any move, and once he gets an opening on you, he just does not have to let up. He has follow-ups off of almost everything, and a lot of getting out of his combos just amounts to trying to trick him, DI the best you can, mix that up, SDI the best you can, and try to mix your SDI up, and just generally hoping that your opponent misses is not a generally very good game plan, but it's kind of what it boils down to with Falco. A decent Falco, a really good Falco will pretty reliably be able to 0 to death you, barring messing up tech skill. But it does not mean that you have to make it easy for him. You can make Falco combos a lot more difficult for him just by trying to maximize the distance you put between him and his follow-ups every time you DI or SDI out a move. So a lot of what I've tried to do against Falco on defense is just try to figure out what attack he's following up with next, and then figure out what DI is going to get me as far away from him as possible and make his life as hard as possible to combo me. Once again, this is a pretty laggy connection, sadly. So, I don't think I also talked about my recovery against Falco. So, Falco has a few options. He might die here. Oh no, I might die here. Falco has a good number of edge guarding options on Kirby. One of Falco's favorite, a lazy but pretty effective option is just daring at the side of the stage. That works extremely well. Honestly, you can tech that if you get a very particular, so Falco's dare can actually send you in two directions. It can send you slightly out, or it can send you slightly in. I don't think I needed to die. If you get the hitbox that sends you inwards towards the stage, you can tech it pretty reliably and hit him with like a wall tech bair or wall tech up air out of it. If it sends you away, unless you're really hugging the stage, or you have your SDI completely on point, you can't tech him and you kind of just die to that. But it's easy enough to space around a slightly drifted back. Final Cutter can generally space around any dare Falco puts on stage, and it forces him to go off stage for dare at least a tiny bit if he wants to hit it. I messed up there. I tried to ledge drop there, but I was not fast enough in my timing. Otherwise, I should have been dead there. Falco's other options for edge guarding you are to go off stage and kind of just do drop zone Shine Bear. Shine Bear is really good. You can generally tech either of those moves, and Falcos generally do it fast enough, like within the 10 frames of invincibility of wall teching, that if you tech the Shine, the Bear can't hit you. Really good Falcos can space around it and make sure that they Shine Bear you away from the stage, and you don't have the opportunity to tech, but it's also a mix-up situation that also requires Falco to go off stage to edgeguard you, and anytime Falco's going off stage to edgeguard you, he is just one read away of getting stage spiked or gimped. So, Falco's options for edgeguarding Kirby ultimately boil down to how confident Falco is and how confident the Kirby is in being able to survive the situation. I read the roll in there, but he just did not bite the bait. So, yeah, I think that pretty much... is there any other options that Falco has? Is there? He has Shine Bear off stage, and he quit out, GG's. Falco can also D-smash at ledge. That's an extremely low risk, high reward option if it works out, but, you know, it's also one of the easiest moves to tech in SDI. There's a reason that it's the default practice option for Uncle Punch's wall tuck training. So, good, only like new and inexperienced and really cheeky Falcos will generally go for D-smash for edge guards on Kirby or any character. But, yeah. And I got to use my spacing there, so that's unfortunate. Falco can just go skip this shine and go straight for the bear at the edge of the stage. And, you know, it works sometimes if you're expecting Shine Bear, but now that he's done that once, I'm going to expect him to do it in the future, and we can cover it pretty reliably. And I messed an up air there. He should die here. Trying to think about other options. So, defensively, what you're looking for against Falco is, like I said before, all of his combos are really scary, so your game plan is basically don't get hit in neutral. Wave dash back is actually a really good option, so it trips a lot of spacies up. It can bait a lot of newer spacies into throwing out unsafe F smashes, throwing out unsafe aerials, messing up their shine timing and shine pressure. Wave dash back in general, just really good against a lot of combo-heavy, aggressive players. And this guy is done with us. Okay, GG's. Fair enough. Another thing that you can get a lot off of in neutral is short hopping and spacing very precise forward airs and back airs just outside of Falco's range. Despite all of his strengths, Falco and Fox both suffer from range issues, so as long as you're putting out hitboxes for retreating aerials or sometimes even aerials in place, they are generally pretty safe, and Fox and Falco will both just kind of run into them. This connection's taking a while, so we'll just cancel out of it. Let's see. Okay, Sheik. I did not talk a lot. I played a few Sheiks yesterday, but I didn't really talk a lot about my game plan against Sheik. So, like I said, I think this is probably Kirby's best top-tier matchup. I think the matchup is very close to even, if not completely even. And this is because we can duck a lot of Sheik's more threatening moves. And we have rinse and repeat edge guards like most characters do on Sheik, where you can just kind of wait for her to up B and then bear to cover a ledge and just kind of knock her back off and do that until she dies. But defensively, other than crouch, you want to basically space around... what's up with this guy? Interesting. Alright. Can't tell if he's playing or not. Needles are also something that we can crouch. We cannot crouch aerial needles if Sheik spaces them perfectly. Crouch canceling them tends to not work out either if the Sheik is prepared to new needle grab. But a lot of neutral, when you're not crouching just outside of what I like to pretend. I like pretending Sheik's another guy that's just not having it today. That's fine. But crouching about a full D-tilt distance away from Sheik basically means that Kirby can get a free D-tilt, and Sheik can't really do anything to hit you without doing something hyper-committal. The least committal thing that she can do is aerial needle, but as soon as you start calling out aerial needle with full hop fair, that also puts Sheik in a bad position. So in general, I do think that we win neutral fairly straightforwardly against Sheik. The only reason that the matchup is even rather than strictly winning for Kirby is because Sheik can get a lot better punishes off of a lot less. And our combo game in Sheik is actually pretty decent. As far as middleweights go, I think we have the best combo game on Sheik than we do against any other character. But we're no longer playing Sheik, and that kind of, if we end up running into another Sheik at some point, I'll go over recovery and edge guarding options a little bit more, but dealing with Sheik and trying to recover against Sheik is also not a huge problem. So, Falcon is probably one of the easiest characters to play defense against. Like I've heard many people say before, he is a fast faller without a projectile, which makes a lot of defensive stuff easy and just boiled down to spacing just outside of his aerial range. And what's interesting about this matchup, and this is why one of my why Falcon's one of my favorite matchups is that Kirby and Falcon both kind of combo each other to no end, and they have the exact same game plan against each other, so they're both trying to do the exact same stuff. Falcon and Kirby are both trying to outspace aerials, while the other person out with tilt. They're both trying to get a combo started with their combo move of choice. They're both trying to exploit the other person's terrible recovery. It's just generally a very fast-paced matchup that both characters get a lot off of winning neutral, and both characters have very interesting recovery plans. That guy just kind of went out to go for a knee. That can work if he's prepared to tech the forward air, but very few Falcons, excuse me, are prepared to tech that the very first time they run into it, so we'll see if he adapts in the future. I apologize, I'm saying a lot again. That's just something that happens. So, defensively against Falcon, you can, like Sheik, you can crouch a lot of his scarier moves. The only thing that Falcon can really hit you with is a weak knee and stomp while you're crouching. So as long as you're prepared to deal with those moves, that was a really good fade back by him, actually. I'm kind of impressed by that. Check that. Down air, he's dead. You can... Oh, so that's one thing that you can do against Falcon again just about every time. If they up B you and you tech and you're not at like 90% and super far away from them, they should die every time to wall tech the up B into down air. That was a really good stomp, but unfortunately we can meteor cancel that for days. One thing that I haven't really talked about with Kirby, that I actually didn't know myself until recently, is that Kirby has the exact same attribute as Puff, where you can just kind of hold up to meteor cancel, so meteor canceling is extra free with Kirby compared to most characters. And Falcon's Dare and Ganon's Dare are that hard in the first place to meteor cancel, but it's extra easy with Kirby and almost free. Like, I could pretty reliably meteor cancel it 9 times out of 10 on a good day. Today, I think I've missed it like 1 out of 4 times so far. So, performing a little under par for the day, but it's not too bad. Trying to think of what I want to talk about next year. The matchup is pretty cut and dry for the most part. Again, it's a really fun matchup. Ooh, that's a really good knee. And I misspaced my up air. Did he overextend? No, he didn't. It's fine. So another similarity that both Falcon and Kirby have in this matchup is that they both get a lot off of really aggressive edge guarding, but they also both die if they overextend and whiff off stage. So you need to be almost 100% confident in your edge guarding ability with both Kirby and Falcon if you want to close out the stock. It generally boils down to either Kirby's dying or Falcon is. Doesn't matter who's getting edge guard. One person is dying per edge guard situation if both characters are playing optimally. He's just stopping on top platform, so we're just going to throw out an up air and get him to stop doing that. I think that's about all I have for defensive stuff against Falcon. Other than stomp and knee, he can't really deal with crouch efficiently, so you want to crouch a lot as much as possible. I'm actually not crouching as much against this particular Falcon, both because he tends to be really aggressive, and I don't really benefit from a lot of defensive options, and because it seems like maybe a lower mid-level Falcon, where I don't have to worry so much about defense and spacing around his moves in general. I can just kind of go in with my game plan. He's going to stomp, it's just not going to work. We're just going to grab, back throw. Yes, doing a good Shy Guy DI there. Gonna try to bait out an unsafe aerial. He's not biting, so we'll go in. That might kill. Wow. Alright. I DI'd for a, I don't know, I think I was DIing for an up air there. So, I got hit by that. He's gonna stomp one more time, we're gonna bear him for it. He's gonna air dodge, maybe? Nope. Oh, good fade back. Guy might be a little better than I initially gave him credit for. He's gonna stomp, we're gonna up air. So, I guess I can go into more of Kirby's combo tools, because I think this guy seems like the kind of person that's going to play us for a while, and Kirby's combos, you know, of every character that they work on, they work the best on Falcon. Other than Ganon, Kirby can just pretty much run train on Ganon with whatever combos he wants, but Falcon's also pretty good. I did a little edge-canceled fair into bear there. That's another one of my favorite things to do in general against fast followers. It is a true combo. They can DI or SDI it a bit, but no matter how they DI and SDI it, Kirby can pretty much always get a bear out of it, provided that you do it fast enough. I think no, actually he wasn't dead there. And he's dead there. That's all good and well. So, I'll try to talk a little bit more about the combos that I'm throwing out at Falcon at this point, and why and when they work. So, let's just see why it work. So, Fair is a really good combo starter on Falcon in general. It's about the same utility as Falcon's Nair, but it has an extra hitbox, and I think it lasts a little bit longer. This guy is hitting me with some pretty good stuff of his own. He's doing some retreating Nairs. I'm actually having a little bit of trouble getting stuff started on him. So we're just kind of throwing out stray forward airs and bears for now. He can't recover from that. If you detail the Falcon, if you detail Falcon on ledge, especially on Yoshi, he should just die. So I like to try following up Fair at low percents with Nair, if only because Falcon's generally not prepared to deal with Nair. Nair is also considered one of Kirby's weaker moves in general, and it is a weak move, but as you may or may not know, weak moves are great for extending combos, and if you hit him with Nair, he's generally not prepared to tech it, or is not prepared to react to it in a way where he can throw him at threatening hitbox, so you can generally get Fair. That was a cute star jump. You can generally threaten with Fair into Nair into another Fair, and from there he's already probably very messed up in his timing. If the Nair connects, you can also sometimes get a bear or an up tilt if he DIs in. He was going to go for a stomp here. We're going to try to drift out of the range from his stomp a little bit. I got lucky with Randall there. I probably would have grabbed ledge if I didn't know Randall was coming. Just trying to mix up some platform movement, throw out a lot of bears. I just barely managed to DI out of that knee there. I knew he was going to go for it, and I just DI'd at the last moment. I probably should have DI'd a lot sooner, and I didn't have to even get hit by weak knee. Accidentally tried to bear there, but ended up dash attacking. That's a very common problem I see with Kirby's of all levels. I don't know why we do it so much, but it just tends to happen a lot. I actually tried to up air there. I accidentally bared, but it worked out. I might be fine. I'm gonna stone here. A lot of people can't see it if you start stone off stage for whatever reason. And we're just gonna run off bear there to mix up his DI. I think he was expecting me to detail there, and he probably would have died anyway if I detailed it. But run off bear can catch Falcon off guard. I know he wasn't prepared to DI it, and it's just a more flashy way of killing him. F-tilt fair. That is something that works against fast forwards at low percent on DI in and neutral DI. I think even on DI out it works sometimes. Depending on the character side, I think it probably would have worked out to Falcon on that percent, even on DI out. But F-tilt, second and even third hit F-tilt, or fair into F-tilt is a true combo. F-tilt is a combo finisher. Generally, you almost never get anything off of F-tilt. So, it's basically something that you throw out when you're pretty confident that you're not going to be able to get any other follow-up. So, F-tilt, definitely a combo ender rather than a combo extender. And certainly not a combo starter in most cases. On Puff in particular, you can get F-tilt into F-tilt on some DIs, but even that is not a true combo by any means. So that's a tech mix-up situation. I was a little late on the bear there, but up tilt, if your opponent's on a platform after your up tilt, you can generally get a bear if you read their tech timing and DI. We're just going to bear him a couple times, hit him with the reverse bear hitbox. That's a really good edge guard in that situation. This Falcon's actually edge guarding way too aggressively for the matchup, and he's doing a lot of things that Falcon just should not be doing. Which, you know, it's fair. A lot of Falcons just like to aggressively edge guard, but it just simply does not work against Kirby. I accidentally dash attacked again and got killed for it. That's fine. And an accidental for there. I think I mentioned this last video, but Bear, if you space it correctly and hit it on one of the last active frames, is actually +1 on shield, so it's perfectly safe to go for Bear and up tilt. Fair into shield on up tilt is actually frame negative. I think it's like -2 or -3 even when spaced perfectly. But Falcon's out of shield options are poor enough where it's still safe against basically anything Falcon can do if you go for like fair up tilt or something like that. So I like doing that a lot. And then Nair. Nair is actually +2 on shield if spaced absolutely perfectly. It's really rare that you get the absolutely perfect hitbox, so generally it's just +0 on shield, which is still fine for the most part. He's gonna stomp. I tried to tech that, but he should still die because he's too close to the stage for that to work. So, yeah, because Falcon's out of shield options are so poor, basically any aerial other than, actually, fun fact that's not really known a whole lot, up air is also safe on shield. It just happens to be a really laggy aerial and really hard to hit with it, especially on grounded opponents. So I don't like going for it a lot, but up air is also safe on shield against Falcon and every other character. I think it's also +2. So every aerial that Kirby has is safe on shield except for down air. And while down air does not have any true safe on shield properties, the fact that you can mix up the fast fall timing and you can hit with anywhere between 1 and 6 hitboxes of dare means it can still be a safe move if you space it properly and time it properly. So, yeah. You basically have 5 mix-ups on Falcon out of air, which is, you know, pretty much more mix-ups than you have against any other character with Kirby, so that's a part of what makes comboing and playing neutral against Falcon so interesting is because you have so many mix-ups compared to what you have in other matchups. You're gonna go for a falling up here. I actually burned one too many jumps in that situation and couldn't get a follow-up. That's fine. Alright, we'll probably play a few more games with this guy until I run out of stuff to talk about with Falcon. I actually do have a decent amount to talk about with Falcon. Like I said, it's one of my favorite matchups. It's one of the matchups I also happen to have the most experience in. This guy is going for a lot of side B reads. I actually get hit by way more of those than you might think I should, and you'd be completely right. I don't know why I got hit by side B so much. I'm just generally not prepared to cover it. I haven't really talked about mistext on platforms too much, so I think in last video I mentioned that aerial hammer can be really good to cover mistext on platforms if your opponent missed a tech, but you know that they can react and roll away or get up attack or whatever, and you don't know which way they're going and don't have a good read on it. Aerial hammer can pretty much cover everything if you do it in the center of the platform, but if you do know that they're not going to get up in time, both bair and up air are really good on platforms in general. That was really good knee. Up air is basically if you just want to send them off stage, because again, you don't really get any follow-ups off of them at any percent. Up air is a combo finisher for the most part. But bair actually does lead to some stuff. And we're just gonna up air there. He's been drifting back to ledge almost every time. He's actually been mixing it up a decent amount, but I think he's been mixing up in a predictable pattern where like he'll like go to ledge every other time and go on stage every other time. So now that I've gotten a read on his habit, I can kind of call out with some more stronger, more committal moves. He's gonna stomp a lot. This guy really likes stomping on top platform. So we're just gonna keep calling him out on that. Hopefully he'll stop. If he doesn't, it's just 3% for us, so it doesn't really matter too much. Back or there, up air there. Where was I? Right, so covering options on platform. If you can get there in time and you're confident that they're just gonna roll and not get up attack, you can read that and grab down throw tech chases on most fast followers. I don't know why this guy's stomping so much. I think he's just goofing around at this point. Or he legitimately doesn't believe he has any other options, which is kind of not far from the truth. Falcon does not have great options on Kirby, other than stop in a lot of situations, but as with any character in any move, if you get too predictable with what you're doing, it just kind of stops working against any competent opponent. I accidentally edge canceled there, I did not mean to, but alright. So this guy is starting to play surprisingly defensively, because he was playing extremely aggressively at first, so I don't know what switched to defensive all of a sudden. He should die here. Yeah. So none of that was guaranteed. Falco could have DI'd or SDI'd or mixed up his uppy timing out of all of it, but even though it's not guaranteed, it's pretty reliable. If you can get a read on Falcon's recovery, you should be able to bair him pretty consistently out of what he's doing. He's gonna put a platform there. He might roll in. He didn't. This Falcon actually isn't rolling too much. He is rolling a little bit. Just gotta smash him for that. Up air from that. And that was a good air dodge. I wasn't prepared to cover it. If I had a read on it, he probably should have died. I actually thought he was gonna try to land on platform from that. If he landed, he was also gonna get up aired and die. A little late on the up air there. He's gonna probably roll in. Yeah. I called out the roll in, but I wasn't actually prepared to cover it. So, a little unfortunate misplay on my part. He's gonna jump in, edge cancel, go for a bair. He's gonna air dodge again, probably. Just detail there, grab ledge. So, I guess I'll talk a little bit. Okay, GG's, dude. I guess I'll talk a little bit more about edge guarding options in general for Kirby. D-tilt is really good against characters that have traditionally poor recoveries that are not multi-hits. So characters that I'm specifically talking about are like Marth, Ganon, Falcon, to some extent, Fox, and, well, specifically Falco, just because of his up B properties. He's generally pretty easy to down tilt. Fox, because he has an active hitbox when he's charging Firefox and has more range than Falco, is generally not a good character to D-tilt. Other characters that are not good to D-tilt are characters with multi-hit up Bs, so down tilt does not work great on Mario, it does not work great on Dr. Mario, it does not work great on Roy. It works pretty decently on Luigi, though you generally have better options against him in general. And most characters can space around down tilt with Kirby, but it's a really precise timing for a lot of characters that most people are not prepared to deal with for the most part. So Marth is one of the characters that can technically space around D-tilt, but the timing and spacing of up B is so precise that I would say fewer than 5% of Marths can actually do it reliably. And almost no Marths that I've run into on Netplay can do it reliably. Like, I don't think I've ran into a single Marth on Netplay that can reliably deal with Kirby's down tilts off stage. So most Marths, in lieu of trying to space around D-tilt, will try to avoid it altogether, either by air dodging on stage or by up-being onto stage. I don't really like going for Kirby sides and other cheeky kills like that in friendlies on Netplay, but one really fun setup to do to Marth is to do a Marth killer, which, you know, in its own right can kill Marth a lot of the time if he's too far off stage. But after Marth killering, if he lands just barely on the lip of stage, you can ledge hop inhale, and even at 0%, Marth cannot physically mash fast enough to get out of the inhale, and he just dies anyway. I should also probably start talking about defensive options against Marth, because Marth is a really hard character to play defense against, just because his overwhelmingly more disjointed hitboxes and overall longer range hitboxes just make it extremely difficult. So last time, I think I talked a little bit about the neutral mix-up, where, you know, if he D-tilts, you fair, if he F-smashes, you wave dash and grab, and if he walls you out with fair, you wave dash in and throw out tilts. But ideally, especially against, I don't want to say lower level Marths, but I guess less experienced Marths in the matchup, you can avoid trading and getting hit at all. So for example, I'm baiting out a lot of, it's just a lot of wave dashing in and out. You kind of just do what Marth's doing, wave dash in and out of his tipper range, try to bait out unsafe or laggy aerials or misspaced aerials, what have you. Gonna get up attack, we're gonna shield spot dodge, or back throw rather. And once you've baited out Marth's aerials or moves, because Marth's moves are so laggy and because they don't have lingering hitboxes, once he actually does whiff, and it's very rare that Marth's, the better a Marth is, the less likely they are to space their aerials in such a way that they'll let you punish them. But once you do, it's almost always punishable. Oh boy, that was a dangerous fireball. So that was a pretty safe aerial side B. I think I talked a little bit last time as well about how to use side B. He's gonna burn a side B there, and we're just gonna bear him out of it. That's one instance of where you can use aerial side B to pretty reliably cover platforms. If you are 100% certain about what option that your opponent's gonna pick as far as teching your get up, you have better options, because Bear is safer and deals more damage. It is possible to space around Marth's D-tilt range with Kirby's up B, by the way. It's not something that's super reliable necessarily, but it is doable. I tried to platform drop back there. One thing you guys may or may not have noticed is that I am not good at shield dropping, to the point where I just don't do it a whole lot. I should probably learn that eventually, but Kirby does benefit from shield dropping, but just empty platform dropping, which is just dropping through platform when you're not sitting in shield, is almost as good. I think it's like 2 frames slower, but it's a lot more reliable, and, you know, playing Kirby is already pretty dangerous in the first place. You don't really need to make it any more dangerous for yourself than absolutely necessary. So, while I should probably learn shield dropping eventually, and if you guys can already shield drop reliably, you probably should be doing that with Kirby. I might die here. Okay, he could have dared me there, and I probably should have died. I'm gonna, okay, we almost got the reverse bear there, but not quite. But, yeah, I was saying something about shield dropping, but I think I finished my thought there. I actually do want to talk about my philosophy with playing Kirby as a character anyway. So, fun fact, Kirby is not the best character in the game by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think he's a lot better than most people give him credit for. Oh, I just went for a reverse bear there. If you bear just outside of Marth's up B range, assuming that you know he's trying to sweet spot, you can kind of clip him and put him in a stage spike situation where he's forced to tech and instantly bear, and then you still generally have time to throw out another aerial or grab ledge or what have you. And I just kind of gambled on that there. He didn't even wall tech, which just gave us a free kill. Another instance of Varial Hammer being really good. But, yeah, back to my philosophy of playing Kirby. So, Kirby is already a high-risk character. Like, you put yourself in a high-risk situation just by picking Kirby on the character select screen, right? So, you have two options. You can play Kirby safely and go for stuff off of reactions and pick his safer, lower-risk moves. But at the end of the day, because Kirby is such a high-risk character to begin with, my philosophy is you just go ham and pick, you know, your most high-reward options anyway, regardless of how risky they are, because at the end of the day, even your safest options can get you killed 50% of the time, so you might as well just go all the way in with your, you know, janky options. So, most Kirbys that I'm aware of, and pretty much every notable Kirby that I can think of, Triple R, Dodger, Ginger, Papa, Kuya, Cereal Rabbit, and name your favorite Kirby, they all play the character relatively safely. Some of them are a little more aggressive than others, but even the more aggressive ones, like Kuya, and I would say even Triple R is probably a more aggressive Kirby, they all kind of play the character using relatively low-risk options. And I like to... So, low risk being, like, staying on stage for the most part to edgeguard, as opposed to, like, I like to just go extremely deep to edgeguard with Kirby. He's gonna have Smash here. I wasn't prepared to space around it. So, I like to go extremely deep edgeguarding with Kirby, because if they're... You basically want to take every chance that you get with Kirby to close out your opponent's stock. It doesn't really matter how high a risk it is to you. If your chance of closing out their stock is even slightly higher than their chance of closing out yours, you want to take that option. For the same reason, I'll often go for slightly more difficult hitboxes in neutral, such as putting out up airs in situations where a lot of people would just bear, putting out single hit or double hit fairs in a lot of situations where people will try to go for triple hit fair. Just minor optimizations like that can go a long way with Kirby and his already very high risk, low reward game plan. So basically, if Kirby's default state is like medium risk, low reward, I try to play him with like, I try to play Kirby with very high risk, kind of high reward. So the risk-reward discrepancy is still pretty bad, but I'd much rather get my juicier combos and punishes off at the expense of having even higher risk than try to avoid playing it safe. So, which kind of ties into my second philosophy of playing Kirby, which is, you know, you're already playing a low tier and trying to get more stuff off of reads than reactions and guaranteed stuff anyway, so the less time and space you give your opponent to think, the better. And part of playing a super high-risk Kirby is not giving your opponent the time or space to think, which is why I put so much emphasis on, like, optimizing movement, getting your perfectly spaced aerials out, and getting your reverse bears and single and double hit fairs on point, because you can just kind of charge... When your opponent lets you run train on them, you can just kind of suffocate them, not necessarily with superior hitboxes, but hitboxes that are fast enough. I just SD'd, like, I think I've SD'd 3 times this game, that's really unfortunate. But, yeah, just trying to suffocate your opponent with superior movement speed. And just not giving them time to think about how they're going to react or handle Kirby's hitboxes. And that goes a lot farther than you might expect. Alright, this should be a network situation. He's gonna murder side B. Oh no, I misspaced that horrendously. He maybe dashed a little too far back for that forward air, otherwise it could have put us in a really bad position. One thing I really like doing against Marth, on not necessarily defense, but in neutral, is bear into down smash like I just did right there. Generally, Marth's shield, while pretty good is not the best, and clean, fresh bear can generally do enough shield damage to the point where D-Smash will shield poke in a lot of situations. To kind of go back against defense on Marth a bit, while I've been through like basically the 3 mix-ups you have in neutral, by far Marth's most annoying option to deal with is fair walls, and a really good Marth can make it really hard for Kirby to get in if he just fair walls properly. And he burned his side B there, as a lot of Marths like to do, and so we just called that out and bared him for it, and he died. He did not need to die there if he did not burn a side B, but because he's been showing himself to burn a lot of side Bs, we just went ahead and rivered it. Oh, I also mentioned last video that getting down against Marth while sharking you is really hard, but I didn't really go into too much detail about how I try to get down on him. Basically, against Marth, you have 2 really good options for getting out of sharks. If you have a lot of jumps and you're relatively close to the edge of the stage, what I like to do is to kind of just float over to the edge of the stage, really high, rock to ledge, and then pop it up slightly below stage level where you're out of D-tilt and F-smash range. He might die here. He's fine. That's a really bad air dodge. I tried to grab ledge, but it didn't work, so I used the air dodge as a backup and it just didn't work out. Other than that, what I like to do is if Marths are trying really hard to fish for up airs, you can wait for them to burn both their double jumps and then follow them back to the ground level of the stage and then dare them for it. While that does not work 100% of the time, and good Marths will make it nearly impossible for you to do that, you can still get it more often than not, even against really good Marths. And dare, it's really hard to hit with Marth with dare in general, but if you can hit with it, it's generally pretty juicy. If Marth is staying on ground like he was right there, then you just kind of, it's a giant guessing game where you just kind of try to learn the spacing of like what he's doing. Good Marths will generally up tilt there. This guy was going for up smashes, which is a little easier to space around than up tilt. And you just try to space around everything you can and try to call out his timing. And it's, at the end of the day, it is a mix-up, so there's like a 50-50 chance whether you get hit or not. And if you get hit, you just get sent back up and you repeat the process again, often with a lot fewer jumps. Getting down against Marth is also a lot about jump conservation, so you want to be very precise about where you spend your jumps, and the less jumps you have when trying to get down against Marth, the worse position you are in. If you're at relatively low percent and out of jumps, sometimes the best option is just to stone all the way to the stage, let yourself hit the ground with stone to refresh your jumps, and just accept whatever Marth throws at you once you recover from stone. A good Marth, a bad Marth will try to F-smash your stone or something similar, and you can time it such that you can't even get punished after you break out of stone while he's recovering with his F-smash. A good Marth will grab you out of stone, which, you know, Kirby's stone can be grabbed, and Kirby just can't really do anything about that. A really good Marth who knows the timing of how long stone can last, which is like 3 seconds exactly, I believe. Oops, that was a good uppie. A really good Marth will just wait out the stone and space for a tip or F-smash, and that is like the best Marth can do to punish stone. But even then, tip or F-smash can't really kill on FD until, if you're prepared for it in USD or DI properly, tip or F-smash can't really kill until about, even on the edge of FD, it won't kill until about 60, I think. So it's still often better to stone toward the stage when you're out of jumps, and just risk eating a tip or F-smash than it is to try to do anything else. I was expecting that guy to try to recover, but it looks like he just kind of gave up there, so that's fine. This might be counterintuitive, but Yoshi's Story I actually don't think is a very bad stage against Marth. I think FD, or maybe even Pokemon, are worse stages against Marth. You might think that, you know, Marth does really well on Yoshi's because, you know, Tipper can kill Kirby at like 20%, and even like 0% on bad DI, but the fact of the matter is that as long as you're pretty confident about not getting tippered, he should be dead here. I actually could have spaced around Rendell. But yeah, as long as you're confident that you're not going to get tippered and you can stay out of Marth's tipper F-smash range, Marth actually dies faster on this stage than we do. And I'm generally pretty confident about staying out of Marth's tipper range. I still definitely get tripped up and die at 20 or 30% once in a while. But in general, it's really easy to edgehog Marth just because of the way Yoshi's slopes on the side of the stage are positioned. It makes it really easy to instantly grab ledge, it makes it really easy to effectively Marth killer, and it makes it especially easy to stage spike Marth, and if Marth tries to stage spike us, we have a generally pretty good chance of... Whoopsies, missed the dash. Generally, if Marth tries to stage spike you or dare you, you have a really good opportunity to drift into the stage and tech, and a lot of the times if Marth really goes deep for his dares, you can even have time to grab ledge and just watch Marth as he slowly dolphin slashes into his death after trying to go for a suicide dare, and it's really funny. But, forgot where I was going with that. I think that just may have been all I was going to say on the matter. Yeah, so... Marth's moves really aren't that scary. That's actually a really good up B. I actually like his use of up B to kill me in a lot of situations. That's a surprisingly effective thing that you can do with Marth a lot of times. I know I've played Reeve. Shoutouts to Reeve, by the way. Really, really good Marth, and also one of the nicest guys I've ever met. But I've played Reeve about 3 or 4 times in bracket now, and he really likes his up B kills, and they are really effective on Kirby compared to a lot of Marth's other options. Especially if you're not prepared for them, they can be a lot of work to space around. You don't often have the opportunity to tech them. And especially if Marth is really good at placing the hitbox, they can be almost impossible to punish Marth for, even on whiff. I believe on every stage except Dreamland, Marth can up B from the ground and land on the top platform, which, unless you're 100% prepared for the up B and it whiffs, Kirby just generally can't punish. I kind of air dodged my death there, but so did he.
Versus Marth. Ready? Go!
Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to cover regarding Marth in particular. Defensive habits. Yeah, I think I've covered pretty much the general defensive game plan against Marth. Ooh, I actually died from that. That's surprising. I think I've covered Kirby's general defensive game plan against Marth, so as long as we're still playing this Marth guy, I think I'll go back just a little bit and talk about our offensive options against Marth, since I didn't really talk about it that much last video. I think we played like 3 Marths and 2 of them quit out almost instantly or changed characters, so we didn't get really to talk about that too much. So winning neutral is kind of just like a gamble in the first place, but once you've actually won neutral against Marth, Marths tend to play very defensively and very scared and do a lot of predictable things to try to get out of being punished. So, I don't know. I actually haven't been paying attention to my own gameplay that much. I don't know how much you guys have been paying attention to what I've been doing against Marth on offense. But in general, once we've like solidly won neutral against Marth, like not just shield poked, but like actually got like a couple clean hits and hit him in the air, up tilt can almost always lead into a back air, and from there, it's just a matter of reading his DI and drifting your back air appropriately. That was a really good drift to the ledge by him. I mentioned a lot about calling out his side B timing from ledge, but beyond that, you can generally afford to go out extremely far to edgeguard Marth. And there's not a whole lot Marth can do about it. If Marth is willing to trade stocks, he can sometimes dare you if you overextend. And if he's far enough from stage and has saved his side B and his double jump and his up B, he will sometimes try to fair wall you and hit you back towards stage. But in general, Marth is kind of sitting duck against Kirby off stage. And I apologize again for saying so much. It's kind of hard to think and play at the same time, as I mentioned several times. Up throw is sadly our only truly safe throw against Marth in a lot of characters at mid to low percents. Starting around 50%, B throw becomes mostly safe. People can still technically mash out of it if they're really good at mashing until around 70%, but in general, B throw starts becoming pretty safe around 50, and even around 40%, unless they're really good at mashing, they tend to mash out at the last possible frame, which is actually good for Kirby because back throw only does about 7 or 8% damage, and if people mash too early, Sorry about that. If people mash out a B throw too late in the animation, not early, Kirby actually has up to a plus 11 frame advantage, which is insane, because that means you have time to get off pretty much any tilt you want. You can get off a down smash, you can even get off a short hop bear in 11 frames. So you actually almost want people to mash out a B throw as late as possible if they're going to mash at all. And in a lot of situations, because bear does more damage than back throw, it might even be preferable to have your opponent mash out in those situations. So anyway, like I was saying about punish against Marth, we don't really have any great punishes prior to about 30 or 40%. Once we get to about that percent range, bear into up tilt, or up tilt into bear, either or, as long as you do the with the correct timing, are true combos. And then if you read Marth's DI, you can generally follow up with turnaround fair if he DIs a little bit outward. You can sometimes get an up air if he DIs inward. If you're feeling really cheeky, you can go for an aerial hammer, though that's generally not a good idea as a combo extender unless you're like doing it out of up throw under platforms because you don't really have any other follow-ups. But you generally do have... You don't have a lot of great options against Marth. Depends if you consider Marth a middleweight or a floaty. I consider him a floaty personally, but as far as floaties go, we probably have more true follow-ups on Marth than any other floaty, which is really nice for us. But at the end of the day, he is still a floaty, and it is still harder to get follow-ups on him. I messed up a tech there, and I deserve to die. That's unfortunate. You can fairly easily tech Marth's F smash in that situation. If Marth is really lazy about his DI or spacing, you can follow up fair like I just did with another fair, and sometimes you can even get a third one. I actually don't have a good read on this guy's DI right now, which means he's either really good about mixing it up or I'm just not in the mindset to pay attention enough right now. Either way, I'm just trying to go for the more guaranteed stuff. Oh, I should talk about down tilting Marth at ledge once he's actually grabbed ledge. So once Marth has actually grabbed ledge, he can... Two things that Marth like to do is fair from ledge like that and re-grab ledge. Sometimes, if they're feeling really brave, they'll fair and land on stage. And then another thing that they can do is nair from ledge. So if you're expecting fair... Oh, which I was trying to demonstrate it, but he actually didn't fair for once. If you're expecting fair, you can shield it and then grab him for it. If you're expecting nair, you can crouch cancel and be sure to crouch cancel both hits. If you crouch cancel the first hit and then try to D-tilt immediately, you'll just get hit by the second hit and get knocked way away and let him back up for 3. But if you crouch cancel the second hit of nair, you can almost always D-tilt him and put him in an absolutely awful position. Honestly, if you just shield Marth, shield any of Marth's options when he's trying to recover from ledge, he generally does not have anything safe other than like a ledge dash or a roll from ledge. I played LSD a few days ago, also another really good Marth, and he likes the roll option from ledge for Marth. It's surprisingly hard to cover. It's definitely not impossible if you're predicting it, but it's probably one of Marth's harder options to cover if you're not expecting it. We're gonna go for a little inhale tech chase there. Inhale is also a really good option for tech chasing people on platforms if you have a pretty good idea. If you could space it to cover 2 out of 3 options, like depending on how you can space it, it can either cover tech in place or tech away, or it can cover tech in place and tech in. You cannot cover both tech in place, or sorry, you cannot cover both tech out and tech in with inhale, so it's a little less reliable in that sense than aerial hammer, but you can also get a lot juicier punishes off of it than you would with aerial hammer, because good players can SDI, crouch cancel, aerial hammer, whatever. It's not the easiest thing, but it is doable. That's a really interesting dare there. I don't know if I would have done that if I were Marth. He doesn't really get anything off of it, even if he hits with it, which he did. I did not get my shield up in time, but otherwise it would have been fine. But yeah, inhale tech chases on platforms are really good. I almost never take the power up unless it's a matchup that really strongly benefits from it, like Falco lasers, sometimes Sheik needles, or Samus charge shot. In general, especially against like Marth, I'm just gonna spit them out. If they are ineffective or inefficient or just improper mashers, they will generally be mashing some kind of aerial or B move when trying to get out of inhale, and you can often get a free follow-up. If they're effective... Another reach, Kirby. Alright, fair enough. Alright, he's done. GG's, dude. So, the best way to mash out of Kirby's Inhale... I should also talk about Inhale mash mechanics. I actually really like the Inhale mashing mind games because there's a lot of... wow. Okay, there's another word I can't say, so I'm just going to pause for a second and try to say it right in my head. There's a lot of intricacies... There we go. There's a lot of intricacies about Kirby's Inhale mix-up game that people don't know about it. So, I'm going to take a drink of water really quick, actually.
Fox, ready? Go!
Come on!
I talked a lot about Fox yesterday, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Fox. I think I'll just go on with what I was talking about with Inhale, and then we'll go back to Fox if there's time. But yeah, there's a surprising amount of flowcharting that goes into figuring out what to do, how to get an Inhale, and what to do out of an Inhale. So, at the very basic lowest level, if people get inhaled by Kirby, especially if you're going for a Kirby set-off stage, their first instinct is to mash, right? Well, at the very basic level, a lot of people don't even know that you can mash Kirby's Inhale. And so people will generally just let you inhale them, and, you know, low-level Kirbys will generally just accept their fate, and both characters will die. I don't know what this guy's doing. If both the Kirby and the opponent have a little bit of knowledge, then the opponent knows that they can mash out of Inhale, and they might try to do that. But Kirby is still at an advantage here, because if they're trying to mash, the angle that Kirby sends people at out of Inhale could actually be one of 4 different angles, depending on if they mash, or if Kirby spits, or if they swallow, or if nobody does anything. So, let's just assume that the opponent mashes. If the opponent mashes and they break out of Kirby's Inhale, what happens is they get sent out below Kirby off stage without their double jump, and they can only have the option to up B. And it doesn't matter if they had their double jump or not before they got stuck in the Inhale. If they mash out of the Inhale, they just do not get their double jump back, and they're forced to use their up B to recover. And so, Kirby also gets all of his double jumps back if the opponent mashes out. So that's actually the best case scenario for Kirby. And you basically just want to float back to stage against pretty much every character if they're significantly below stage level. Ooh, Bowser, interesting. I'm gonna make a very quick tangent to Bowser really quick. Bowser is Kirby's best matchup by far, because he has no answer to Inhale. If I really wanted to be mean, I would just Inhale side kill him like a zillion times, but in general, even if you just do it on stage, Bowser can't answer it. That's all I have to say to Bowser. That's all you really need to know about Bowser. Have fun beating Bowser with Kirby. That's all you need to know. So back to Inhale mechanics. The second option is if your opponent does not mash out. So if they don't mash out, but they're at low percent, there's still a chance that they break out of Kirby's Inhale before they reach the blast zone. Alright, GG's, dude. In which case, it's the exact same as if they had mashed out. Alright, I recognize this tag. I think this is a pretty good Peach. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I may just be thinking of somebody else. We'll see. Maybe not. But, yeah, if they don't mash out, then they are guaranteed to die. And Kirby has a variable frame window that is dependent on the character's, I believe, height. So for extremely short characters that are Kirby's height or shorter, it's a literal 0 frame window for Kirby to mash out, and they die at the same time if Kirby has a lower port or higher port, so a port closer to 1. I might be a little bit wrong on the mechanics there. I might get the reports reversed. They both die at the same time if Kirby's port is closer to 1. And if Kirby's port is closer to 4, so if he has a lower port, then he has a 1 frame window to suicide cancel. And suicide canceling is basically a window where if Kirby jumps right after the opponent dies from an Inhale Kirby side, he can actually survive the Kirby side. And that's something that a lot of Kirby players know, but not all of them, and even fewer non-Kirby players know. I think a lot of the top level players know about suicide canceling, But again, not all of them. So yeah, we've covered the opponent mashing and the opponent not mashing. And, oh, so one more thing is that the frame window, like I said, is variable for shorter characters. So for the tallest character in the game, incidentally Bowser, you have a full 8 frames to mash out of Kirby's side. So you can reliably just mash X or Y or whatever you want, and you can suicide cancel against Bowser almost every time. Every other character has at most like 6 frames, I think. So I think the 6 frame windows are like Ganon and I don't know who else. I think Ganon, Link, and I think maybe Marth. And actually, now that I think about it more, I don't think the frame window has anything to do with the character's height, because I know that Zelda is also a 0 frame or at most a 1 frame window, and she's a pretty tall character. So I don't actually know what determines it. I think there's a spreadsheet somewhere on Smashboards that goes into detail about all the character weights that Kirby can suicide cancel. But you guys can, if I can remember to do it after I'm done filming this, I'll put a link in the description with that information in the spreadsheet. I actually probably should be talking about Peach a little bit more, because our gameplay against Peach is really different compared to a lot of characters. I will try to finish talking about Inhale side mechanics really quickly and come back to it later to expand. So the other options out of Inhales off stage are Spit and Swallow. So in both cases, if you spit your opponent out or swallow your opponent gets their double jump back. Kirby's double jumps do not refresh, and you're generally in a worse position than you otherwise would be. So I almost never like inhaling and copying your opponent's ability off stage is almost never a good idea. Spit can work out in stages if your opponent's at high percent, because another little known fact is that your opponent can also mash out of the star when you spit them out, but that's also percent dependent. But if your opponent's at relatively high percent or not mashing, you can spit them under stages like Dreamland and Battlefield and FD, and to some extent Fountain of Dreams and Pokemon. The only thing it doesn't work on is Yoshi's, because there's no hollow underneath the stage. But, yeah, you can spit them underneath the stage, and characters with poor recoveries have a really hard time making it back. And it does give Kirby a better chance at recovering, but that's a very niche scenario. In general, it's just better to let them try to mash out, or try to suicide cancel if they decide not to mash out. But, what I was talking about where the flowchart gets interesting is because whether it's optimal for the opponent to try to mash out or not is different depending on what percent they're at and where Kirby starts the inhale. So if they're at 0%, or even low to mid percent, and Kirby starts the inhale on stage to the point where he's not immediately falling off stage for the suicide kill, I might die here. I'm gonna try to ledge dash. I could still die. Hang on. Oh god, it's headshot. We're gonna try to catch it. We're gonna try to be a hero here. Ah. Might die, might live. Zach. I messed up spacing there. I should die. Yeah. Alright, GG's, guy. But, Falcon, interesting. But yeah, so if your opponent is at lower mid percent and you start Inhale on stage, it is optimal for your opponent to mash, because they can mash out of Inhale before Kirby gets off stage. However, if you start the Inhale off stage from like a ledge hop, so if you just ledge hop Inhale because you have a read on your opponent's recovery from the ledge of the stage, even at 0% and even with the best mashing, characters with poor recoveries cannot humanly mash fast enough to recover, so it is optimal for your opponent not to mash in that situation and just to wait it out. More interestingly, even if your opponent is at on stage when you start the Inhale, if they are at high percent, actually a decent Falcon with a good combo game, interesting. If your opponent is at high percent when you start the Inhale on stage, you sometimes still have time to jump off stage, unless they're like extremely hardcore mashing. You still have sometimes time to jump off stage, and it's still optimal for your opponent not to mash, because they're probably gonna die anyway. Ooh, gosh. I was really scared about that. I did not do the optimal play there. Like I said last time I was playing Falcon, I should have just down aired there and he would have died. Bait out the up safe up air. I actually thought he would air dodge there and we could have gotten a free kill, but he actually made the smart decision to just up air immediately. Really good by the Falcon. So, yeah, and I had planned on making a flowchart at least at one point about what Kirby should and should not do and what the opponent should or should not do in certain inhale situations. But the general rule of thumb is if your opponent has the confidence that they can mash out of inhale before Kirby gets off stage, they should do it. Otherwise, they should just accept their fate and hope that Kirby dies as well from the inhale side and not give him a chance to survive any more than they have to. I'm already getting kind of tired, to be honestly, so this might be a shorter video than last time. And might also be a less entertaining video than last time, because I feel like I've been trying to talk more about Kirby's defensive options and tangential stuff rather than what I'm actually doing and thinking. So, still might be helpful if you're trying to pick up Kirby and learn about Kirby's general options and game plans in certain situations. I'm gonna read a ledge dash in here and down tilt him. I messed up the spacing on that bear, otherwise it would have worked probably. If he goes out really deep, we can probably get a kill. That was actually a pretty decently spaced dare by him. So you can tell I'm tired. I would never call it a dare if I was completely focused on what I was doing here. I'd call it a stomp like everybody else. That's just tragic. Oh well. Rip. Alright. But, yeah. I was gonna talk a little bit more about Peach, but he switched off to Falcon. And we already talked a good amount about Falcon. So, I'm trying to think if there's any other topics I wanted to cover in this video. So, I guess I can just go over a little bit of Kirby's general defensive game plan against characters. And, like I said in the last video, with Punish Game and Neutral, everything that Kirby does was really about trying to figure out your opponent's game plan and habits and work around those. And defense is no different. It's also about trying to figure out, you know, when your opponent's coming into attack, what timings that they're throwing out moves, late, early aerials or whatever, and spacing around those, and just throwing out defensive hitboxes. Not necessarily to even get hits. Ah, that was a nice edge guard. He could have wall-tagged both of those, obviously, but he probably was not expecting them. Did another little micro-spacing thing around knee there. I probably should have fared towards stage there, but not 100% present in the game at the moment. But, yeah, so things that you really want to look at when you're on defense and your opponent's trying to hit you is what moves are they throwing out, what moves in Kirby's arsenal does he have to space around / counter those moves. Something that you always want to be asking yourself is crouching a good idea in this situation? Or is shielding a good idea in this situation? Because Kirby does not want to really be spending any more time in shield than absolutely necessary. I did my F smash too slow there, otherwise that's a true combo, or true follow-up after jab reset, I would say. I almost messed up a ledge dash there. I think I got extremely lucky that I did not SD during that. But crouching is extremely good on Kirby in most matchups. Oh, that is, I should also talk a little bit about that, because that is a true combo on platforms. If you can get single, double hit fair into up tilt and manage to land on a platform, you can almost always get another up tilt or fair, and that will work on virtually every fast follower in the game. It works on Fox, works on Falcon, works on Falco, works on Ganondorf, works on Link, Bowser, anybody else counted as a fast follower? I don't know if it works on Young Link, to be honest. But, yeah, it's a really good combo. In general, if Kirby can get to a platform after up-tilting opponent above said platform, it's generally... He can generally get some true follows with either another up tilt, a grab, or another F air. And this guy's taking a bit to play, so we'll just go on. I think this is going to be my last match for the video. It's another Falcon, so cool. Let's see if this guy does anything notable worth talking about. I think I already talked about everything I could talk about with Falcon. General game plan, combos, neutral defense, recovery, edge guarding. I actually didn't talk a lot about edge guarding. It's pretty straightforward, but I guess I'll go over it for the sake of completeness. It's a good down throw. Wow, I actually DI just a tiny bit out the end there, trying to get a turnaround bear at the end of the stage. And that got me killed. So, a little unfortunate there. But yeah, edge guarding Falcon is pretty straightforward. It's not quite as easy. It's not quite as free as it looks, though it is still pretty free. Generally, if Falcon's recovering below stage and you know he can't possibly recover above stage from the angle he's at, you can just down tilt him for it. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I believe, like Mark, you can sweet spot around it if you space improperly. If you space properly, though, I don't think even that was an edge canceled bear into an SD. Alright, very cool. Dang it. But yeah, if you space down tilt absolutely perfectly, not even Falcon's up B can space around it, we're gonna try to run off bear. Oh no, I SD'd again. Well, no, he tried to stop me and meter cancel it and he SD'd. So that's unfortunate. He should die here. Nope, I died, but we got 36%. So that's fine. Darn. But yeah, so Falcon might try to recover high, and really good Falcons, I've played down a couple of times, really good Falcons will try to mix up the angle and mix up their timings and spacings for up being. I could die here, hang on. Probably dead if he does something good here. Get up attack. Okay, that was not a good option on his part. I actually meant to up air there, not back air, but it worked out. But, yeah, if Falcon tries to get tricky and recover high, and mix up his up B drift, it can be really hard to edge guard him. But in general, if you follow him really high, because Falcon cannot adjust the height of his up B, even though he can adjust his drift, if you can memorize the height of Falcon's up B and follow him out, then it should be possible to cover his up B with a bear no matter how he drifts it. And it is really hard. It's a lot harder than just, you know, down tilting him at ledge, obviously. But it's not impossible by any means to cover it with, like, 90% reliability. I don't think we've run into a Mario yet, at least not one that actively played against us. So Mario is deceptively tricky to edge guard. Like I said, he has a multi-hit up B, which makes it impossible for Kirby to D-tilt him at ledge. You can dare him out of his up B, but good Marios can mix up their spacing, their drift, their timing, and using cape or not to make it really hard for us to dare. Like right there. I think he should die? Yeah. I guess I can talk a little bit about Mario. Mario is personally probably not Kirby's worst mid-tier matchup, but my worst mid-tier matchup. I have historically had a lot of problems with Mario. In theory, I think the matchup should be close to even, but I am just... I always get tripped up by good Marios because they tend to have really good spacing with all their moves, even though they have almost no range, and they really tend to be smart about their recovery. That's an unfortunate place to down B, and that was probably not the smartest thing he could have done there. But yeah, so in general, another thing about playing Kirby in general that I just kind of want to talk about is matchupping experience, and oopsies, I might die here. No. Another thing I want to talk about is like how like playing Kirby generally works in the grand scheme of things as far as matchup experience goes. I think I mentioned a little bit last video that I don't like relying on matchup experience to win matches, and I try to do stuff that's guaranteed regardless of how much matchup experience the opponent has. But at the end of the day, matchup experience does play a factor. And while it's true that, you know, top tier characters are in general better for a lot of reasons, because top tier characters do have these either better tools or easier to use tools, an equally... I don't want to say skill, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into skill, but I guess a top-tier character player that is equally successful in bracket as a low-tier seeing a similar level of success, matchup experience plays a larger role for the low-tier player and how well they can deal with the top-tier. So, I'm trying to think of a good example of where I was going with this. This is actually a little bit of a complicated concept for me to explain, but I do think it's an important one, so I'm going to be silent a little bit while I think of how I've tried to frame this. Okay, so basically where I was going with this is, for any level of success, the lower tier of a character you play, the more work and understanding of your character and your opponent's character it takes to achieve that level of success. So, for example, if I played a top tier character and I could put in the same amount of practice with that character as I do with Kirby and probably achieve higher success. Or if I wanted to achieve the same level of success I currently have with Kirby, I could do it in a lot less time with a top tier character. But I also don't have to understand my character nearly as well, because a lot of what those characters have is just kind of given to me automatically. For example, Kirby kind of has to work for everything he has. Even though he's really good at edge guarding, he still has to work for it. Like, he doesn't get really anything for free. At least not anything that's super good in the grand scheme of things. And so, to achieve success with your character, and to play your character optimally, you have to be good at the things that your character is bad at. That's why, say, you know, Falco gets a lot of stuff for free, but Falco's recovery is not hot. So really good Falcos have really good recoveries. Same thing with really good Sheiks. In a similar line, Peach can get a lot of damage really quickly, but Peach does not do so well in getting, like, true neutral wins. She also trades for a lot of stuff. So really good Peach players will be good at maximizing Peach's ability to get percent without taking any herself. And so on and so forth for every character. And so, characters in the dead center of the tier... Oh, no. We're fine here. He's gonna... I thought he was gonna roll in. Characters in the center of the tier list actually pose the hardest hurdle for Kirby to overcome. Because top tier players that are at my level of success or around my skill level, because they know less about their character, I can generally win more micro interactions in very specific situations than they can, and that can often win me games. Whereas lower tier players of lower tier characters with similar levels of success to myself, I guess we'll end it. Okay, we'll give this guy one more game and then we'll end it after this. Characters that are people that play lower tier characters, like similar to myself, tend to have understanding of their characters comparable to my own, but also melee knowledge plays a lot of role into it, so not just character knowledge. And I can generally beat other players of lower tier characters, even though they may be as successful as myself, because Kirby's matchups against lower tier characters are generally pretty good. With the exception of Zelda. I think Zelda is probably the only lower tier character that we even might lose to with Kirby. And even then, that's debatable. I think it's probably an even matchup. But in general, Kirby does well against the lower tier characters, so even with similar levels of character knowledge, I think we can pretty easily clutch out the lower tier matchups. But mid-tier characters like Mario, like Yoshi, like Young Link, I think is where Kirby kind of tends to struggle, because players of those characters tend to play characters that are good enough. They tend to play characters that are good enough that they have good matchups against Kirby in general, and so we can't win just by having a superior matchup. But they also play characters that have enough weaknesses where they tend to understand their characters not quite as well as maybe like your average super bottom tier player might, but much better than your average top tier with similar levels of success. So, like, while this guy may not see as much success as your average Spacey main, I'm sure that this Mario player here knows a lot more about his character than your average Spacey main who does, like, just as well in tournaments. And so it really poses that dangerous sweet spot of not playing a good enough character where I can exploit the red habits, but not playing a bad enough character where I can exploit the matchup being in our favor. Makes it really hard to deal with what they're doing. So I think I just repeated myself a lot there. I'm sorry about that. I'm sure I repeated myself a lot and talked in circles. We're gonna go ahead and call it there. GG's Boog and all the other opponents I played. So yeah, that's been my at least attempted commentary on Kirby's general defensive plans against characters. This probably isn't as insightful into my own game plan as I'm playing as the previous video was, but if you're trying to learn about what Kirby is looking for as far as defensive interactions and how he should be recovering and spacing around top tiers and even some, I guess we play a few mid tiers, some other characters' threats in neutral and in punish, I hope this was at least somewhat educational. And I'm a lot less coherent today than I was yesterday for whatever reason, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some food and call the video here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.